I don't know that there's one playbook, and there's a lot of things, unfortunately, when a family is confronted with a catastrophic injury, they face a lot of disadvantages, frankly. I think, with respect to trying to protect their worst side, I think, the sooner they can start looking into what happened and get somebody who's going to start looking into their case and fighting for them, the better. I think if they can reach out to their support network and find people. I grew up in a time, I think, where there was maybe a little bit of a stigma in terms of seeking mental health. And a lot of my clients did as well. A lot of my clients come from a background where maybe there's some sort of stigma in being upfront about their mental health and how it's affecting them. But through my practice and through watching my clients go through things, I've become a big fan of mental health professionals and the benefit they can provide for families that are going through that, both in terms of, perhaps the individual family member who might have suffered a catastrophic injury, as well as all the other family members who may be thrust into a caretaking role or who suddenly are forced to, take on extra jobs or endure financial hardships because, perhaps the breadwinner of the family has been struck down by a catastrophic injury. The other thing I think I can say is that it never ceases to amaze me just how resilient individuals and families are. And one of the great things about this job is being able to watch families and individuals who have had something truly terrible happen to them and see how they oftentimes come together, how they weather the storms and find a way to get through that. I don't necessarily know what the secret to that other than the fact that oftentimes they just have no choice. But I do think, one of the things I've observed, I think it's important for people who have been through catastrophic injuries to have a chance to grieve and to recognize and acknowledge what's lost and then look, towards the future. And sometimes that can be, grieving the loss of an income that they had, of a job that they loved. In a catastrophic injury case, grieving the loss of a limb that maybe was amputated, grieving the loss of a life that they had before, and just going through those stages, giving into the anger, giving into the denial, giving into ultimately to the acceptance of it, and going through those types of stages. The other thing I would say is, anything that somebody's suffered a catastrophic injury can do to lower their expenses on the front end. Oftentimes, when a defendant is responsible for someone's injuries, they generally don't always accept responsibility, and they certainly will always dispute the amount of harm that they caused. And so, unfortunately, litigation can be a time-consuming process for us to be able to fight and try and get the amount of compensation a client deserves. So I think to the extent that they can, take steps to lower their expenses and get to a place where they can function until their case resolves, it can also be helpful.